Hey everybody, Kenny here. Just some housekeeping before we get started. If this is your first time watching any of my build videos, I do not present builds that are intended for pinnacle content for players who have been playing the game for over a decade. I make builds for players who don't have a lot of time to play Path of Exile, and most likely, if they do get to maps each league, they probably don't get very far and are just looking for fun ideas for builds to try out with the limited time they have. It's very much a casual Path of Exile based channel, so if that isn't what you're looking for, this is your warning. Out of the way, let's get started. And with that out of the way, I'd like to introduce you all to my Flesh Sculptor build. Now, this unfortunately is very much like the Facebreaker build that I showed a couple of leagues ago. And the reason I say it's unfortunate is because in this case, this is a build that has a lot of strict requirements for how to get it running. But just like my Facebreaker, the reason that it has so many kind of hefty requirements on it is that this is to show a cool interaction that exists in the game, but is not by any means game breaking. Just something that is fun to play for people who don't mind taking things slower. With that out of the way, let's see the build in action.
do this just yet.
So as with last time, in order to keep myself in a reasonable time frame with these videos, I will be starting a timer starting now. So as we saw with the build demonstration, this is a highly resistant, highly effective, but not a super damaging build. This is like the majority of the damage that comes through here is actually more so from the corrupting fever that we have going than it is from either the charge dash or our raised falling zombies. Like the zombie is definitely doing a lot of the damage that we have going here, definitely more than whatever our charge dash is doing. However, I know that for certain that the corrupted blood is definitely doing the majority of the work, just because I have done lots of testing with this character with and without the corrupted blood on, and it's very obvious that when the corrupted blood is on, this the damage output is tremendously higher. Even though I'm not really spec'd in any way to make the corrupted blood all that much better. So let's go into our skills real quick. Now, obviously, the most important is that we are running a raised zombie of falling, and the only way to get this gem is either to continuously run the labyrinth until you get it, which is what I did, or you can trade for it if you are someone who is in a trade league and is able to do that and doesn't have any issue with trading with other players. So if this is something you'd like to try, then those are your two options. I have a video on my channel that's about how to use the fonts in the labyrinth, so if you want to check that out, maybe that'll be help you on deciding whether or not you want to do that for yourself. And the main thing that allows this build to run is the fact that we are using the Baron. Now what the Baron does is once you have 1,000 or more strength, it makes it that any zombies you have leech life back to you, which means that our spell, Raised Falling Zombie, is actually causing us to gain life back through life leech. So it's a spell that we're casting that is constantly hitting enemies in a large area, and all of the enemies being hit are leeching life back to us through the damage that the zombie is doing, because the impact of the zombie hitting the ground counts as the zombie hitting all the enemies in that area, and that is being leeched back to us through the Baron. This 6th link that I'm running here is because I wanted to make it feel as impactful as possible. So it is being supported by Pulverize support in order to increase the area of the zombie the zombie landing. It is being supported by minion damage support to further increase the amount of damage that the zombie can do, and is being supported by Predator support. Predator support is when you see that kind of mark show up on enemies. That means that, I am marking the enemies as the prey, and therefore the zombie is dealing more damage when it lands. And then of course we're using cast while channeling in order to cast our Raised Zombie of Falling, and our charge dash is what is being used to channel in order to cause that interaction. We're also using dash as our escape skill. And then we're using both Corrupting Fever and Blood Rage, and we are supporting that with increased duration so that they last longer. The Blood Rage is so we get the extra attack speed and also even more life leech. And of course the Corrupting Fever, because the corrupted blood that it is propagating onto enemies that we are attacking is what gets us the bulk of our damage through the build. We're also supporting the vulnerability hex using the blasphemy support so that we have our curse up at all times, causing enemies to take more damage from the zombie and from our corrupted blood. Gear wise, the biggest thing that I went for was to have as much strength as possible on every single piece, because the more strength you have, the closer you get to being able to run the Baron. You see that I landed on 1023 strength, so just as much strength as I could get on every single piece. As always, you can find the link to the build in the description. For our passives, this is a Slayer build, so most importantly is to go in down this line here to get to Brutal Fervor, which is the most important thing because it gives us the increased maximum recovery from life leech and makes it that our life leech effects are not removed when our life is full, and also makes it that we take reduced damage when leeching. Then Endless Hunger is nice because it gives us extra overkill damage leached and makes it that we attack faster and cannot be stunned while we're leeching. We're also unaffected by bleeding while leeching, which is a very good one to have. And then I went into Overwhelm, not for the purpose of getting more crit, but actually just to make it that if we take a critical hit from an enemy, then the critical strike multiplier of the enemies are reduced against us. The important nodes to consider here is that we went into as much strength as we could. I happen to have this Inertia Crimson Jewel, which not only gives us some strength, but also makes it that all dexterity in the area is transformed into strength, which makes it that we're able to satisfy that strength requirement just by passing through this part of the duelist tree, which let me go down this way to get some more strength and intelligence from over here and get us a little bit of actual dexterity for our stat build. But you don't really need to do this. You can always go and just invest in more strength further out into the tree. This is just something I did for the purpose of the fact that it was convenient. Then went into this big leech cluster here just for the extra maximum total recovery and to make that we get increased damage while we're leeching, as well as further increasing our maximum total leech from the leech mastery. Then this recovery mastery here, I don't plan on, the intention isn't to have the extra regen when we're low on life. It's actually just to get recovery mastery that makes it that nearby enemies that have life regen have reduced life regen, because I hate life regen and I focus on getting rid of that any way I can. And obviously, big focus on getting as much strength as possible, increasing our attributes to get, once again, more strength. Focusing on getting as much life and defenses as I could get, whatever I could fit in. And I happened to have this Cobalt Gem that gave me some extra strength and made it that we have some more elemental resistance, so that way I could get my defenses up a little better that way. Then, more stats. And then into this one right here, because this gets us more minion damage, and also we get this notable passive Grave Pact that makes it that minions have a chance to deal double damage. And the reason that I bothered to go in for that is because our Raised Zombie of Falling, by getting the quality all the way up to 20, we increase the chance to deal double damage up to 15%. And so along with that, that's a 21% chance for the zombie to deal double damage. So every 5 hits, every 5 casts, the zombie will deal double damage. And yeah, that is the build. Stop the timer real quick. All right, so that is it. It's it was a very enjoyable build for me to put together. I liked leveling it up all the way from Act 6 to Act to Endgame. Running that map, the only reason why Any of my portals got used up there was because the game crashed while I was running it. But, you know, otherwise, again, like, I didn't have any difficulty making my way through that. The biggest difficulty that you're going to have with this character is that, obviously, they rely a lot on Leech, which is the reason why I did not have them get Valpact. Because I wanted them to at least have an additional way to regenerate health. Because, you know, if you get Valpact, you have no regeneration. And even though having the, you know, doubling our total recovery and maximum total recovery would have been really nice, if we were to get rid of our regen and we went into an enemy that happens to have the modifier that makes it they can't be leeched and also causes you to have corrupted blood. Because, you know, I have not been able to get to the point where I've turned off corrupted blood. So without that, like, you know, that's a very dangerous thing, is to run into an enemy that can't be leeched from and also has corrupted blood on them. So having additional recovery sources is very important for this build. And as I mentioned, you can find the link to the build in the description, and in there you'll be able to see, like, you know, what defenses I have and all that. Yeah, that's gonna be for this one. If you found these tips useful, appreciate doing all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, be Victus, Vibes and Amaris, and bye.